New York City Police Department on track to face its biggest exodus of officers ever. Nearly 1,600 NYPD officers are leaving as of May 31st, according to stats obtained by the New York Post. That is a 38% spike compared to the same time last year. Officers say rising crime, bail reform, and anti-police hostility are to blame. Joining me now, former D.C. homicide detective and Fox News contributor Ted Williams. This should frighten everyone, not just people who live in New York. Ted?
Dagan, you're absolutely right. I think what you're finding in what we call the Big Apple need in New York is that law enforcement officers just don't feel that they're loved or cared for there. Crime is off the chart, and these law enforcement officers are undermanned, should we say, and they're trying to do all they can. But as a result of that, the surrounding jurisdictions around New York and around the country are telling these law enforcement officers to come and serve with us. And these law enforcement officers are looking for better benefits and better pay, and they're also looking to protect their families, so they are moving to these various venues.
And excuse me, Ted, the bail reform has made it impossible for officers to do their jobs. And then they have to rely on Alvin Bragg, the district attorney here, and that they won't. There's a problem with. There was a guy that, because Bragg didn't get file indictments against this one individual who's been picked up repeatedly for stabbing and assaulting people right near where I'm sitting right now. So bail reform, you arrest somebody, they're right back out on the street, or foul ups by this liberal DA, whether intentional or not. It makes it impossible for police to fight crime.
You're absolutely correct. Alvin Bragg there in Manhattan, the Manhattan DA, has been an embarrassment. I would hope at some stage what happened in San Francisco, where the DA there, Chesa Boudin, was recalled last week. I'm hoping at some stage that the folks in New York will wake up and find a way to try to get rid of Alvin Bragg. He, again, has been an embarrassment. He has not done anything to help police officers, and certainly the citizens of New York have suffered as a result of the administration of Alvin Bragg.
The New York Post has an editorial about Alvin Bragg. It says, DA Alvin Bragg's greatest hits. If Kathy Hochul, the governor, won't fire him, New Yorkers should fire her. Moving on to D.C., Ted, the Biden administration hosting several defund the police activists at the White House over the last year, according to visitor logs. This despite the president trying to maintain a public distance from that far left movement. Listen to this.
We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police. It's to fund the police. The answer is not to defund the police. It's to give you the tools, the training, the funding, to be partners, to be protectors.
And look at what our communities need and what our law enforcement is being asked to do. It's going to require more resources, not fewer resources.
Ted, your reaction to that? Don't believe the talk.
Well, what we've found is that as the president and the Democrats, by the way, are running as far as they can away from this defund movement, but there are individuals who believe in defunding, unfortunately, that are associated with the administration that are still coming to the White House. I've been told that a lot of it, these individuals have been coming, though, to talk about black-on-black crime, which is off the chart in black neighborhoods. And as we know that blacks are certainly a group that the president is courting if he runs for re-election. So that's some of the things I've been told that are on the table right now, Dagan.
Before we go, Ted, I want to get your reaction to the bipartisan group of senators that have cobbled together an agreement on proposed gun legislation. The framework that they've come up with includes funding for states to pass red flag laws, funding for mental health and school safety, federal laws against gun trafficking and straw purchases, and enhanced background checks for gun buyers under the age of 21. Your thoughts on this? Will it make a difference?
You know, it's debatable at this stage whether it will make a difference, Dagan, but, you know, we have to start somewhere. And some of these things that they're putting in place, like giving grants to cities and states for red flag laws, I think would be certainly helpful. I got to tell you, I'm also deeply concerned, though, about an 18-year-old who cannot go and buy a pack of cigarettes but can go out and get an automatic weapon. I think certainly it's also interesting to see if some of these 10 Republicans can be brought along to even bring this kind of regulations or the regulations that they want in place.
You're mentioning there was much discussion about trying to raise the age for buying a semi-automatic rifle, like an AR-15, to 21. The federal legislation for handguns is you have to be 21. Some states have raised the age, like Florida, to buy long guns to 21. So, Ted, on that note, if it doesn't happen at the federal level, the states can move and try to do it themselves. It's about half a dozen states. I think the flat age for buying any weapon is 21. We'll see what happens at the state level, if anything. Ted Williams, thank you so much. Great to see you.